Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome our home church. Let us prepare our heart to heaven. Let us sing a song, the psalm song. Page 156, the Rainbow Song. 156, the Rainbow Song.
Father, make me a rainbow to bridge old and new. Father, make me a gateway for many to come through. Father, you are the sunlight in a very dark land. Father, make me a prism held in your hand. Father, you are the music, won't you make me a fire? I am the kindling, Father, make me a fire. Our voices blend now into one loving song. The dream grows true now, beautiful song. Make me a rainbow to bridge old and new. Father, make me a gateway for many to come through. Father, you are the sunlight in a very dark night. Make me a prism held in your hand. Father, you are the music, won't you make me a wire? I am the kindling, Father, make me a fire. Our voices blend now into one loving song. The dream grows true now, beautiful song. The dream grows true now, beautiful song.
Thank you. Let us stand up and greet the Heavenly Father, God, and true parents. Today is Sunday early morning and November 4th, 2018. Let us bow to Heavenly Father and true parents. Youngbaek, hello. Join me in prayer. 살아계시는 하나님 아버지 참부모님 안녕하십니까? Heavenly Father, true parents, we are grateful to come in front of you. We are attending to you the sincere heart and humble heart coming in front of you. Please guide our heart to hear your message with very sincere heart and receiving your guidance in the very moment. And this week with the America, the midterm election coming, and so many people is looking at what's going on, the politics and the world. So many things is happening. We can see that through the hurricane, people lost the house, and also the disease and the world, the people is hungry, and so many disasters coming in this world. We feel the last day, and we really want to prepare our heart and mind, and also the action. It's America. It's the really dividing the right and left. We are pray for the change to be good and prosper with loving and sincere heart, and develop ourselves to working hard to create your beautiful kingdom. Please guide our pastor, can give us sight of you and our Messiah, returning Christ, Reverend Moon, and three great kingship, and moving on to the next level of your providence. We really want to catch the heart and walking with you, talking with you, and sing with you, do things with you. Please guide this week can be progress and prosper with you. Thank you very much. Please bless this time, and we prepare our heart to receive your word through our Pastor Montanaro. Please bless this time. I pray that in the name of Rama and Tamiko Montanaro, bless Central family. Aju, Amen. Thank you. Please seated. And welcome our Pastor Montanaro. Welcome.
Okay. Let's bring our chairs in. Okay, good. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. So today I want to talk about what my title is this: a searcher's mind. A searcher's mind. Have you ever searched for anything? Akio, when was the last time you searched for something? Do you look for anything ever? Do you ever lose anything? Socks, or your phone, right? Something like that, right? If you're searching for something, it usually means that you lost it, right, beforehand, right? You've lost your phone and you've searched for it. You call and you see where it's ringing or something like that, right? We have techniques we use to find our phone. What else do we search for? Do we search for anything ever? The meaning of your life, what you want to do with your life, right? Did we lose that? Did you lose that? Did you have it before and you lost it? No, you didn't. You didn't have that before, but still you're looking for that. You're looking for the place, the work that you can do that will make your life most meaningful, How about you, Sunna? What do you search for? Sports equipment that you lost or something? Do you search for anything inside yourself? Are you looking for anything? Can you put it in words? Not so easily. How about you? Toys. You search for toys that you've lost, right? You know you have them, right? Sometimes as a worker, I'm fixing the pole outside, right? So we're searching for the right way to do it. Sometimes I'm searching for solutions to problems, right? I know they're out there. I can see other people doing a good job with something, and I know that there is a good way of doing something, and I want to find the best way to do it, right? And I got to learn the skills then to make that happen. Father, Reverend Moon, Sun Myung Moon, our true parents, he was searching his whole life. What was he searching for?
God.
I think he had found God by the time he was a young man. I think he had found God deeply. I don't think he was searching for God his whole life. I think he found God. But he says something that he was searching for in the introduction to his autobiography, which I'm going to read for us here. He said he was searching for something his whole life. And it's not about him. Do you know what he was searching for his whole life?
How can make a beautiful, happy world?
Right. He was searching to make a world of peace. That's the word he uses, is the world of peace. So you don't have to... Searching, it doesn't mean necessarily you're searching for something for yourself. Right? You can search, if you see two people fighting or hating each other or are constantly resentful, you can search for a way to break that down. Nothing is more complicated than us, fallen human beings. After the fall, we became really, really complicated. Even God is shaking his head. How do I find the solution to let the original mind of people come out so they can become like my original children? God is searching. God is searching.
Yeah.
Searching for us. searching for a way to fix us. He sent the Messiah, Jesus, 2,000 years ago. Did it work? No. Did Jesus do something important? Yes. Jesus lived his life the right way. He spoke the truth. He gave love. He did miracles. He tried his best to convince the people that he was the Messiah. Follow me, follow me. If you follow me, I can lead you out of this hell. Did they do it? Did they follow him? No. Not even one. Even his own disciples betrayed him. Judas betrayed him to the Romans. Peter denied him 3 times. His own Peter, James, and John fell asleep while he was in the garden. No one could follow him exactly. And nowadays Christians are very confident and proud of Jesus. But I have to ask you, if you're a Christian, I have to ask you, would you have followed Jesus 2,000 years ago if he was walking around and you were Jewish? You were a Jewish young man or woman. You were a Jewish teacher. You were, whatever you do now. If you're a teacher, you were a teacher. If you were a plumber, you were a plumber. Whatever that was, but 2,000 years ago, without pipes. But anyway, maybe you dug aqueducts and cisterns and places that water could gather or something. Whatever you did, whatever you were, however you made money and made a living for your family, whatever, maybe you're a husband or a wife or you're a father, would you have followed Jesus if he had walked next to you and talked to you? Would you have followed Jesus? Were you searching? Are you searching now? Are you looking for new answers? Or are you content with the answers that you have found? Are you settled in to your comfort zone? Most Christians in this world are settled into their comfort zone. Most Buddhists are settled into their comfort zone. Most Jews are settled into their comfort zone. Most Muslims are settled into their comfort zone. Most atheists are settled into their comfort zone. Most agnostics are settled into their comfort zone. God can't speak to you if you're settled into your comfort zone. Comfortable people aren't searching. Comfortable people are accepting their comfort zone. This is where I am. I'm happy here. Leave me alone. I want to stay here. I'm comfortable. Leave me alone. Unificationists can get settled into their comfort zone. Reverend Moon, the second coming of Christ. Divine principle is true. I'm following the Messiah. I'm happy. I'm good. I'm all good here. Are you really good? Did you really restore your sin? Have you really restored the world around you? So to my unificationist brothers and sisters, have we really lived the way that Father lived? Have we become like Reverend Moon? Have we become like Father? Have we become like Jesus? Are we living our lives for the sake of others? Are we changing the world? I mean, you know, it's hard to say I'm living my life like Jesus or I'm living my life like Father. It's hard to know. It's hard to judge. But one thing I can say is that Jesus and Father changed the world around them constantly. They were never in their comfort zone. Jesus said, the birds of the air have nests, the foxes have holes, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. I'm not comfortable, he said. He was never comfortable. He traveled from town to town, city to city, accepting the hospitality of whoever would welcome him, speaking publicly, running away sometimes from the Jews who picked up stones to stone him, being hidden by his disciples, going from town to town, wherever he could work. He said to his disciples, I send you out like sheep among wolves. If you go to a town and no one welcomes you, do not say anything against that town, he said. Just walk out, wipe the dust of that town off your feet and get out. That's what he said. Wipe the dust off your feet and get out of the town. Go to a place that will welcome you. No comfort zone there. Father was never comfortable. Even when he had achieved a level of success that no religious leader had ever achieved in their lifetime. Jesus did not achieve the level of success that Father achieved in his lifetime. Buddha did not. Confucius did not. Lao Tzu did not. Muhammad did not. The Prophet did not. Moses did not. No one achieved the level of success that Father achieved in his lifetime. Literally with millions of people around the world recognizing him as the second coming of the Messiah, second coming of Christ. Blessing millions of people in marriage. And yet he never wanted to be comfortable. He slept 3 hours a night until the end of his life. He deprived himself of sleep so he could spend more time teaching. He went to the most difficult places. And so I'm going to read to you the introduction of Father's autobiography. Sometimes we dive into the deep chapters, right, of Father's autobiography, and I recommend to you at home that you connect to the link that I give you and you can read the entire autobiography online. You don't need to pay a penny. But I'm going to read the introduction, which we don't often read, because it actually shows Father's heart most deeply, in a sense, like an umbrella covering the whole book. He's telling, why did I write this book? And it's a very deep chapter, so we'll read that together. And then I want to read for you the section of the Divine Principle that Father wrote. One of my friends recently online was telling me that Father didn't write the Divine Principle. It was written by some woman, she said. I said, no, it wasn't. And she said, oh, I made a mistake. It was written by some man, Johann Yu. And I said, he was the first disciple that mastered Divine Principle and taught it under Father's direct guidance. For literally weeks and weeks and months, Father sat next to him while he lectured and guided him and taught him how to teach the Divine Principle. He systematized its teaching. He had polio when he was a child, Johann Yu, and he couldn't stand for long periods of time, but he would walk with a cane, and he would literally stand for 16 hours a day teaching, while Father was right next to him, guiding him. If anyone said that he had written the Divine Principle, he would be furious. He would be furious. And yet, it is listed on the twoparents.org website as being a unificationist teaching, not written by Reverend Moon. In other words, it's not under Reverend Moon's books. Terrible. And okay, I'll accept it, because the disciples did write it down. They wrote down how Johann Yu had lectured. They wrote down systematically the Divine Principle. But Father read and reread every word and corrected mistakes, because he talked about that. He talked about how he corrected this mistake and that mistake as it was being written down. Father was the author of the Divine Principle. No one else. So I'm going to read one chapter, not even one chapter, one section of one chapter. In the last days, our attitude in the last days. And Father says very clearly, you have to be humble. You have to be spiritually open. You cannot be entrenched in the teachings of the past. You have to be ready to listen to something new. As Jesus said, new wine must be put into new wineskins. What does that mean? I've taught my children this. What does that mean? New wine must be put into new wineskins. Well, first of all, we don't drink much wine. And we don't use wineskins anymore. We use bottles. People who know wine, though, know that you have to put the cork in the top. The cork is actually made from a fungus. Cork is a fungus that grows on certain trees at certain elevations in the Mediterranean. When I went to Sardinia, I guess in English, off the coast of Italy, they had cork farms. And there's one kind of tree that is the host to this fungus. And every year the fungus gets a little thicker around the base of the tree. It covers the entire bark of the tree. And it gets to about this thick, about 2 inches thick, and then they slice it and they peel it off the tree like this. They flatten it, and that's used for making cork floors, it's made for cork boards, it's made for shoe soles, it's made for many things, but especially for thousands of years it's been used to make tapas, they call it, right? The cork bottle, the cork for a bottle, for a wine. Because it's actually a living thing, it's a fungus, and you cut a square out, and then they squeeze it into a circle with a special tool. They squeeze it and hold it in that position so it's really round. and then they quickly release it, stick it in the bottle, and it swells back up again, and then it blocks the bottle top. But all people who know wine know that you have to keep it, when you keep wine for a long time, you have to keep the wine tilted down. So the cork is always wet, and that keeps it swollen. It doesn't let it dry out. But if you keep the bottle vertical, the cork will eventually dry out, like all wood and fiber does, and then it shrinks, and then air gets in, and that spoils the wine. So that's one thing we know about wine now. But what is a wineskin? It's actually not just leather. What is a wine? Now we think of wineskin.
The stomach.
It's the stomach of a goat, or the bladder of a goat. I'm not sure whether they use bladder or stomach, but they use these sacs in the animal. And the stomach, I think, is preferable because it has enzymes in it which help digest the grape juice and turn it into wine. So you take this grape juice, you put it into the stomach of a goat, and you seal the top. And of course, it's flat. You know, there's no air. You don't believe any air in it, right? And then gradually, as it ferments, it starts to swell up. You fill it up as it's full sack, right? But as it ferments, it gets more and more pressure, and it swells up. And the goat's stomach is a fresh stomach, so it stretches. It stretches with the wine. And when the wine stops stretching, you know it's ready and whatever. And then you can unscrew the top, or whatever maybe there was a cork in that too, or whatever. You take the top off, it probably, lets out pressure, and then you drink the wine. But now, if you do the same thing to that wineskin with fresh grape juice and you ferment it, what's going to happen to the wineskin? If it's already been stretched out and then it's dry at that level, what's going to happen to the wineskin? It's going to burst. It's going to burst. It's just going to burst because it's already been stretched out, and now you've used it to pour out the wine, and now it's dry, and now you put a new batch of grape juice in, and that ferments, and now that explodes. It'll explode. So Jesus knew, when he spoke these words, everyone knew what he was talking about. This was not like, esoteric teaching. He was teaching in simple parables and symbols, Jesus was. And he said, new wine must be put in the new wineskins. My words are going to ferment your brain. You better be stretchy, otherwise you're going to blow up. And that's what happened. He blew people's minds. We even have that expression nowadays, right? You get an idea, it blows your mind, and we do this, right? We go, right? That means you just heard something that blew your mind. I think young people today are especially ready for Father's teaching because they really like getting their minds blown, right? You're always on the internet. Wow, unbelievable, cool. And next meme. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay. Ooh, next video. Oh, that's so cool. You like it when your mind is blown. You want to be flexible. Old fuddy-duddies don't like that. They want to, just hear what they already know because it reinforces their own belief system. They don't want to be stretched. And Jesus found that problem. Young people, people who are humble, people who didn't have an arrogant idea, didn't know what, people who didn't, thank you, people who didn't know, thanks, hon. So, young people or people who were fishermen or tax collectors or sinners, people who had been humbled by life, who didn't have a high position, weren't full of themselves, but actually were just simply, looking for truth, searchers. They came to Jesus and they were, wow. Their mind wasn't blown, their mind was stretched, and they liked it. They liked it. And Jesus said that. Unless you become like little children, you can in no way enter the kingdom of heaven. Are you like little children at home? Are you searchers? Are you looking for truth? Are you hungry? Or are you satisfied? Are you an old wineskin? You've already been stretched. You're comfortable. You don't want to explode. New wine must be put into new wineskins. new truth. And it's really amazing how Jesus kept his analogies consistent, actually. He said, when he was talking about his word, he likened his teaching to yeast. He said, my teaching, the word of God is like leaven. Leavening is yeast. And he said, it causes you to rise, to grow, But if yeast has lost its leaven, it's no good for anything, you throw it out. So he talked about the analogy of yeast helping things to grow, to rise, which is what wine uses also, yeast, to grow. Right? So he was trying to teach that his words would cause havoc in your mind. It's going to make you think differently. Why? We need to be new people. Garbage in, garbage out. Right? That's one of my Ken teachers' favorite sayings. He used to say, garbage in, garbage out. If you have the wrong formula, if you don't know what you're doing in setting up the formula, you're going to get a wrong answer. Garbage in, garbage out. Another expression that businessmen like to say is this. The definition of business insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So your business is failing, it's not working. I'll just keep trying to do what I've done harder. I'll work harder at what I'm doing. Doesn't work. Right? If it's not working, maybe the way you're doing it is wrong. If our society is dysfunctional, maybe our society's principles are wrong. Maybe the way we think is wrong. Religion is the core of our thinking. I had this discussion with my daughter the other day. I read from the Divine Principle, and you should, if you're interested in this discussion about the root of society, Father made it very clear the root of culture is religion. Not economics, not political theory like Marxists believe, but religion. Our beliefs are the most fundamental thing in our lives. Go to the first part of the chapter on eschatology, last days. And if you want to, it's the third chapter of the Divine Principle after the introduction, creation, fall, and eschatology. And read the section on the reason why the history of God's providence is the history of restoration. And you will see this amazing discussion, this amazing argument put forth that religion is the root of culture. And it is. So maybe our religions are wrong. And we need new truth. Okay, so let's read. Well, first we'll hold this from now. First, let's read from the introduction to the. This is going to be a bit longer than normally I read, but it's lovely. It's very poetic, so just enjoy it. This is called the foreword of As a Peace-Loving Global Citizen, the autobiography of the Reverend Moon. A steady spring rain fell last night, ending a winter drought. It was so nice to have had the rain that I spent all the morning walking about in the garden. The ground had that fragrant aroma of moist earth I had missed all through the winter. And the weeping willow and cherry trees were showing signs of new spring buds. I felt I could hear the popping sounds of new life sprouting here and there around the garden. Before I knew it, my wife, who had followed me out, was picking young mugwort shoots that had managed to poke their heads up through the dry lawn. Mugwort is a medicinal shrub with a wide range of healing properties. The night's rain had turned the whole world into a fragrant spring garden. No matter how much commotion there may be in the world, when the calendar turns to March, spring is on its way. The older I become, the more it means to me that in nature, spring follows winter and brings with it flowers in full bloom. Who am I that God, in each season, allows the flowers to bloom and the snow to fall, so I might know the joy of being alive? Love wells up from within the deepest recesses of my heart and I am overcome with emotion. I am moved to tears to think that everything of real value has been given to me freely. In my life, I have circled the globe many times over in my efforts to bring about a world of peace. And yet it is here, in this garden, in spring, that I am able to taste real peace. Peace, too, was given to us by God, but we lost it somewhere. Now, the theme of searching, right? What we lost, we want to find, right? We search for it. Peace, too, was given to us by God, but we lost it somewhere, and now we spend our lives looking for it in all the wrong places. To bring a world of peace, I've spent my life going to the most lowly and secluded places. I met mothers in Africa who could only watch helplessly as their children died of hunger. And I met fathers in South America who lived by rivers full of fish but could not support their families by fishing. At first, all I did was simply share my food, but they granted me their love in return. Intoxicated with the power of love, I went on to plant seeds and cultivate forests. Together we caught fish to feed hungry children, and the trees were used to build schools. I was happy fishing all through the night, even as mosquitoes bit me all over. I was happy even when I was sinking knee-deep into mud, because I could see the shadows of despair disappear from the faces of my neighbors. Father lived his life intoxicated with love. He felt love all the time. He suffered in order to continue feeling love. In other words, rather than being angry and resentful and fighting back and retaliating and having revenge and vendettas against the people who are hurting him all the time, he swallowed that, digested that pain, and returned love so that he could remain in that state of love all the time. That's how he lived. And that's what was the power that changed the world. Seeking the shortest path to a world of peace, I devoted myself to inspiring change in the political process and to changing people's ways of thinking. I met then-President Mikhail Gorbachev of the Soviet Union as part of my effort to bring reconciliation between communism and democracy. And I met then-President Kim Il-sung of North Korea for a serious discussion on how to bring peace to the Korean Peninsula. That was in 1990 and 1991 that he met Gorbachev and Kim Il-sung. I went to a United States that was in moral decline and played the role of a fireman responding to a call in an effort to reawaken its Puritan spirit. I dedicated myself to resolving various conflicts in the world. In my work for peace among Muslims and Jews, I was not deterred by rampant terror. As a result of my efforts, thousands have gathered for rallies and peace marches, with Jews, Muslims, and Christians all joining together. Sadly, however, the conflict continues. I see hope, though, that an age of peace is about to be inaugurated in my native land of Korea. He wrote this in 2009, 3 years before he died. He was 89 years old. The Korean Peninsula has been trained through endless suffering and the tragedy of division. And I can feel it in every cell of my body that a powerful energy has been stored here and is ready to burst out. In the same way that no one can stop a new season of spring from coming, no human power can stop heavenly fortune from coming to the Korean Peninsula and spreading throughout the world. People need to prepare themselves so that they may rise with the tide of heavenly fortune when it arrives. I lived in Korea for 3 years, and I can testify that Father is right. In the most remote parts of Korea, you really see the spirit of Korea alive. In the modern part of Korea, you feel sometimes that it's very similar to the United States. But actually, you can feel that the Korean people have an energy and a vibrant power in their history that is unlike anywhere else I've ever seen in the world. Maybe most similar to the spirit of the Jewish people in the Israelites, the Israelis. Israelis have an intense passion for building their nation and protecting it. And ironically, it's interesting that friends of mine who were Green Berets and Marines said that the two armed forces that are most feared and respected in the world are the Israeli troops and the ROK, the ROK, Republic of Korea troops, the ROK troops. They're terrifying in battle. They take no prisoners. They're scary. And they will fight until they have no energy left to fight. They're scary. Until they die. The Vietnamese were not afraid as much of the Green Berets and the Marines as the North Vietnamese, the communists, were terrified of the ROC troops. They were just terrifying in battle. And the Israelis also. Not afraid. So interesting. Both the first chosen people and the second chosen people. Father says, I am a controversial person. The mere mention of my name causes trouble in the world. I never sought money or fame, but have spent my life speaking only of peace. The world, though, has associated many different phrases with my name, rejected me, and thrown stones at me. Many are not interested in knowing what I say or what I do. They only oppose me. I have been unjustly imprisoned 6 times in my life, by Imperial Japan, in Kim Il-sung's North Korea, by South Korea's Syngman-rhee government, and even in the United States. And at times I was beaten so hard that the flesh was torn from my body. Today, though, not even the slightest wound remains in my heart. Old wounds disappear easily in the presence of true love. Even enemies melt away without a trace in the presence of true love. True love is a heart that gives and wants to continue giving. True love is a love that forgets it already gave love and gives love again. I have lived my entire life intoxicated in such love. I wanted nothing aside from love, and I threw my entire being into the effort to share love with my impoverished neighbors. At times, the path of love was so difficult that my knees buckled under me. But even then, I felt happy in my heart, dedicated to loving humanity. Even now, I am filled with love that I have not yet been able to give. At 89 years old, he's saying, my only regret is that I couldn't empty out my heart of love. Keep loving. It is with a prayer that this love will become a river of peace, saturating the drought-stricken land and flowing to the ends of the earth, that I now place this book before the world. Recently, a growing number of people have been seeking to know more about me. For the sake of those who are curious, I have looked back on my life and recorded my candid recollections in this book. As for the stories that could not be included in this volume, I hope there will be other opportunities for me to convey them. I send boundless love to all those who have put their faith in me, remained by my side, and lived their lives with me, especially to my wife, Reverend Moon, to whom I am deeply grateful for struggling with me to scale the most difficult peaks. Finally, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Unju Park, president of Gim Young Publishers Incorporated, who poured out much sincerity and dedication in the process of bringing this book to publication, and to everyone in the publishing company who labored in editing the words I spoke so that the often complex content could be easily understood by readers. Sun Myung Moon, Chungpyeong, South Korea, March 1st, 2009. So he passed away just a little over 3 years after this. So, Father never stopped searching. What was he searching for? What was Father searching for? A world of peace. Father was searching for a world of peace. If the Messiah can search for a world of peace until he's 92 years old, I think it's a pretty good job. Pretty good job description. So we should all be searching for a world of peace. Okay? So let me read to you now from, this is the chapter I mentioned earlier, eschatology. It's in the Divine Principle, Reverend Moon's teaching. And it's the last section of the last section. The last part of the last section. Our attitude in the last days. People who live in this period of the last days suffer internally from anxiety, fear, and confusion due to the absence of a guiding ideology or philosophy. We suffer externally from strife and battles fought with fearsome weapons. And then I'm going to just jumping from key point to key point until I get to the last 3 paragraphs, and I'll read them in their entirety. The providence of the new age does not begin on the ashes of the old age. On the contrary, the new age sprouts and grows amidst the final phases of the old age and comes into conflict with that age. Jesus, for example, who inaugurated the New Testament age, came at the close of the Old Testament age in such a way as to bewilder the faithful adherents of the Mosaic law. He was ostracized by the Jewish people and eventually crucified. So Jesus was a victim of the old age because he did not come when the old age had completely collapsed. God doesn't want to throw away the old age. There's good things in the old age, right? There's good things in Christianity. There's good things in Islam. There's good things in Buddhism and Confucianism. There's good things in Hinduism. There's good things in all these religions. There's good things even in atheism and communism. There's good things in people who are sincere, trying to find truth. There's good things there. We cannot throw away the good with the bad. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay? You have to keep the good things. So God brings the new age, the teaching, the new truth, right in the middle of the old age. He doesn't wait until it's dead and until it's destroyed itself and there's nothing left but ashes. He brings it in the middle of the power of the old age so that the people who are called to realize that something's wrong here. You know, something's not right with our way of thinking. The society is not changing. We still have problems. You know, our Christian culture is not solving the problems of America right now. This nation was founded on the spirit of Christianity, and yet it's been unable, the spirit of Christianity has been unable to solve the problems, the political problems and social problems that we face in America. The immorality that we see in this country, the gender confusion we see, is a result of the failure of Christianity to show a true way of marriage. Christian marriage is plagued by the same divorce rate that non-Christian marriages are plagued by. Now, I think it's slightly lower, honestly. But nevertheless, the point is that we have not solved in Christian history. Look bigger than just the United States. The United States is the most recent experiment of Christian history. The idea of democracy. Gosh, I have so much I'd love to share, but I don't have time. But I had a good conversation with a friend of mine online, and we were talking about Trump. And, you know, the left in America is quick to accuse Trump of inciting the most violent tendencies of the rabble, of the unwashed millions, the ignorant Americans, you know, who are like hicks. They're very arrogant. In other words, the left is very arrogant toward Trump's followers. They think Trump's followers are ignorant fools who just rabble-rousers. Actually, Andrew Jackson, over 150 years ago, actually almost 180, 190, almost 200 years ago, actually, Andrew Jackson faced the same problem. He was a populist president. He was popular, but he was not from the elite. And my friend and I were going back and forth, and I pointed out that this battle between the idea that only educated elites should run the government and the idea that the people should be trusted with the government is not new. This was one of the major battles in the Constitutional Convention between Jefferson and Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton believed that, and he said very clearly, he said the people cannot be trusted. The idea that God resides in the people is a very popular notion, but it's not true. He said the people are immature and emotional and violent. They need to be controlled by the more mature, educated elites, essentially, who can run the government and who can help guide and control the passions of the people. Jefferson said no. He said, if you want to know where God most easily dwells, look into the heart of the simple laborers, the farmers, and the people of the land. In other words, Hamilton represented an elitism that had existed in Europe for thousands of years, that the nobility, this is in Christian Europe. This is not in atheistic Europe, this is Christians who are saying, well, the nobles have a lot more control of themselves than the unwashed masses. And so let the nobles run the government. Hamilton was an elitist. And Jefferson was a populist. And he said, no, trust the people. Give them freedom to vote and let them work it out. And you'll get the best form of government. I'm not saying either one was completely true. I think education plays a large role in self-control. It can. But has it been true that trusting our government to rich elites has worked out? Have they proven, as Alexander Hamilton said, to be able to control their passions and ambition? No. He said that the people are full of passion and ambition. Let the government control the people. But the government's people, which people? Oh, the elites. So he implicitly was saying that the educated elites can do a better job of controlling their ambition and their passion and their greed. Has that been true? Ridiculous. The tri-state area, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York, lost all three of its governors. Governor Rowland in Connecticut, and I don't forgot the name in New York State and in New Jersey, but they were all arrested and convicted and put in jail, basically. I'm not sure if how the trials all went, because they misused public money. They made millions of dollars stealing from the people. Yeah. Does that sound familiar? Do our senators and congressmen have a perfect track record? The senators are the most rich men and women in America. All the senators, Democratic and Republican, are all wealthy. All millionaires in their own right. All of them, millionaires. Do they have have they been guiding America properly? So Trump comes to shake things up, like Jefferson wanted, and like Andrew Jackson, and he represents a kind of populist trend. Let the people have power again. And the elites, in this case, we're represented more by the Democratic Party, are saying, no, you can't trust them. They're violent. He's like Hitler. He's going to incite the passions of the people. And yes, that has happened in history, but not in the United States. Hitler's Germany, Hitler came on the Weimar Republic. He came on Kaiser Wilhelm. There was still monarchy and nobility in Europe. It was a totally different situation. And there was widespread unrest because France and England had been demanding war reparations from World War I and torturing and sucking the blood out of the German economy. So the people were furious and they wanted to kick out the English and the French influence. And so Hitler rose up and said, we're going to rearm ourselves, we're going to re-establish our currency, we're going to re-establish our economic base, our industrial base. And he did those things. And the people liked him for that. But in the way, he also blamed the Jewish people, who were the bankers that had continued to be the conduit for German money out of Germany, were many of them Jewish bankers. So they were blaming the Jews. It was not appropriate. They should have blamed the English and the French and the Christians. English and French Christians had decided to seek revenge against Germany for what they had done in World War I. So it was Jewish and Christian people who had put their heel on Germany's face and ground Germany's face into the dirt after the end of World War I. Hitler was incorrect in his understanding, but he inflamed the passions. But Trump is not Hitler. It's nonsense. He represents angry working class people who are sick of elites arrogantly saying, we can run this government better than you can. You just keep your place. You keep working and paying taxes. We'll take care of things. Don't worry. And that's on both the Republican and Democratic side. That's why the Republicans didn't like Trump when he was running for the Republican nominee. They all united. All the Republican nominees hated Trump. They were terrified of him. Don't think that the Democrats are the only ones that hated Trump. Everybody did. And then when he was chosen as the Republican nominee, every Republicans, oh no, woe is us, woe is us. And then he won against Hillary Clinton in a miracle, actually. And the Democrats now hate him. But it's because of elitism. It's actually the real battle here is American elitism versus populism. This is what's really going on in America today. Okay? How did I get into that? Well, election day is coming up, but I was talking about Jesus, and he was ostracized by the Jewish people and eventually crucified. Jesus was killed because he wasn't popular with the leaders, with the Jewish elites. So, anyway, let's go on now. Fallen people's spiritual... Oh, that's right, I remember now. I was having this discussion with my friend online about Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson. And we were going back and forth because there's so much I want to share with you about these kinds of things. When I talk about one thing, it goes into everything else. And especially now with the election coming up, it's on my mind, the struggle that we're facing. I'm of the mind that what Trump represents is a return to populism, a return to giving the people more responsibility. And I think it's a good thing overall. I think that we have to realize, though, that nothing, this is the point I was making, nothing has solved the struggle and brought about one world of peace. Christianity and Judaism, running the show for 2,000 years in Europe, have not brought about a peaceful world. But America's close. There's some wonderful things in America. We're a society that tries to respect other people's points of view. We don't always succeed. But tries to respect other people's points of view, tries to have a civil dialogue and debate about deeply held, passionately held points of view, and tries to resolve them at the voting box, at the ballot box. That's an interesting way of solving problems. But still, Christianity has not solved problems. And so we maybe need new answers. We need new truth. I'm not saying Trump is the Messiah. He doesn't have the new truth. I'm saying Reverend Moon is the second coming of Christ. Reverend Moon is the Messiah. He has the new truth. And until all Americans start to study Reverend Moon's teaching and start to apply his teaching and start to build true families and take responsibility for their own actions, we're not going to see an end to strife and division in this country. It's not going to end. So let's finish this chapter. It's amazing. Fallen people's spiritual sensibility is extremely dull. We are not spiritually sensitive. Hence, they generally tend to stick strictly to the letter of the truth in their efforts to follow God's providence. In other words, if you were raised a Christian and you were baptized or you were confirmed in a Christian faith, you tend to stop asking questions, if you ever did, by the age of 15, maybe 20, maybe 25 if you're really seeking truth. But you tend to hold on to, this is what the Bible says, I'm going to believe it, leave me alone. Such people cannot readily adjust themselves to the dispensation of the new age, even though the providence of restoration is moving toward it. They are generally too strongly attached to the outdated perspective provided by the doctrines of the old age. This is well illustrated by the case of the Jewish people of Jesus' day, who were so attached to the Old Testament that they could not respond to Jesus' call to open a new chapter of the providence. On the other hand, those believers who receive divine inspiration through prayer are able to grasp spiritually the providence of the new age, even though this may put them at odds with the doctrines of the old age. They will still respond to the promptings of the Spirit and follow the calling of the new providence. Among the disciples of Jesus, there was not one who was overly attached to the Old Testament scriptures. Rather, they all responded to the spiritual experiences which they could sense through their inner minds. In the last days, this is for you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and me, and you. In the last days, people who lead an ardent life of prayer, or who live by their conscience, in other words, having a searcher's mind, seeking, searching. People who live an ardent life of prayer, who live by their conscience, will feel intense anxiety in their hearts. This is because in their hearts they vaguely sense a spiritual calling and want to follow the providence of the new age, yet they have not come in contact with the new truth which can guide them to act accordingly. These are the chosen ones who, once they hear the new truth, will be awakened simultaneously in their spirits and intellects by spirit and truth. As Jesus said, God is spirit and truth, and those who worship him in spirit and truth. They will then fully understand God's providential needs concerning the new age, and will volunteer with great enthusiasm and delight. We who are alive today are living in the last days. We should cultivate a humble heart and make the utmost effort to receive divine inspiration through prayer. We should not be strongly attached to conventional concepts, but rather should direct ourselves to be receptive to the Spirit, in order that we may find the new truth which can guide us to the providence of the new age. When we come across this truth, we should ascertain whether it leads us to become one with heaven's guidance. We should examine ourselves as to whether or not genuine heavenly bliss springs forth abundantly from the depths of our soul. Only in this way can we, the seekers in the last days, discover the path to true salvation. Are you a seeker? Are you a searcher? Or are you content to be where you are? If you're content, you're part of this problem. You're not part of the solution. Be part of the solution. Don't be part of the problem. All my friends who are arguing back and forth about Trump, go deeper. Ask yourselves, is Trump or no Trump going to solve the problems of America? Going to solve my problems, my family's problems, my nation's problems, my world's problems? And you know in your heart that it won't. Politics will not solve problems. Economic solutions do not solve the problem. The problem comes when we have a new expression of truth which changes the very basis upon which we believe. Our belief systems are the problem. In America, it's the Judeo-Christian ethic and morality and belief system which has wonderful points but is limited because it is based on the teaching of Paul and the disciples who never really knew what Jesus was going to go to because he was crucified before he could bring the providence to perfection. That's why he prophesied about the second coming, because he knew that he could not bring about the ideal teaching, the ideal world. As he said in his own words, there are many things I would share with you, but you cannot bear them now. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth. The Spirit of truth was the second coming of Christ. Reverend Moon came and fulfilled the prophecy of Jesus and became the second coming of Christ. He has passed on his mission and his responsibility to us, the blessed couples, and he's asked us to continue his work of reaching out and teaching. I'm not saying I have all the truth. I don't. I'm still searching and seeking because I need to know more every day. I need to be humble. I need to meet God every day more deeply. But I can share with you what Reverend Moon has shared with me until now. In the last words of the Introduction to the Divine Principle, which I read, I think, last week, it says clearly this point. It says, the words proclaimed on these pages are only a portion of this truth. This volume is merely a compilation of what his disciples have hitherto heard and seen. We believe and hope that when the time is ripe, more profound portions of the truth will be published. There's no arrogance here. There's no saying, oh, this is it. We don't have anything more to learn. We're the new truth. You got to follow. No. But I can tell you that Reverend Moon came and fulfilled the prophecy of Jesus as the second coming of Christ. And this teaching can elevate us to a point that no one has been before. And that we can seek higher than. Do you want to add anything or can we?
Oh, just I catch the mind. You want to say the first time I had met the Reverend Moon. Before I had, of course, hear the Divine Principle lecture, but to face, I met first time, I couldn't speak English or Korean, just I can speak Japanese, understanding the Japanese translation. But I went to the front of the Reverend Moon, under the feet. I was sitting there. But the first time he coming into room, different feeling. Like in the room, it's become bigger, and the spirit like a giant coming into the room.
Yeah.
And we are right and left. The man and the woman was separating, and the middle of the room
It was a converted garage. At Belvedere Estate in Irving, in Tarrytown, New York, Father had taken the carriage house of this estate. He'd converted it into this place that he could teach, and he put a carpet on the floor and a little tiny platform where he could stand, and we would all sit on the floor as close as possible so we could all crowd in. And it was cold sometimes in the winter or something like that. We'd all crowd in, and there was a carpet on the floor. We would sit there sometimes for hours listening to Father speak.
Yeah.
And the men were on the right, the women on the left.
Yeah. And before he came, we were singing holy song, a lot of song. And he came, and the spirit, that dimensional spiritual element is changed, and very bright, and I felt like a giant came into this room. And I sat there, but I can't even speak in English or Korean. I sat there, and he talking about some kind of providential history, and like so many words, but I don't understand anything about it. And at that time I didn't have translation in the radio or anything. And and then I asked the front of Father, I cannot speak English or Korean, I don't understand the translation or any kind of God's providence, but I wanted to know one thing. And I immediately, I said that inside of my heart, and then he touched me in my head, and then just touched like this, and the energy coming into my body was so incredible, and just I felt this mind is so different as a people, and just I felt that there's so much power and truth in him, and just cried. I cried. And the tear is gone, and I understood the moment. This man is a man. God sent it, the Son of Man. It's here. That is. I got the message. I couldn't bear the long speech, but I understood this man is a true man. Anything it happen at any moment, but I understood this man is a true man to teach God's truth. That was one thing I kept in my heart. That's why very important to understand that this man is a true man. That is a profound truth I received. Since after that, my life totally changed. I struggled many things, language and culture and daily life. But I kept determined to that I want to reach today this much, or next day and a week. I made a determination that each day something accomplished, and then 1 month changed my life, because I didn't have any vision for my life to what I need accomplished in this earth. And then he gave me that one simple truth. He is the one. He is the anointed one. He is the one. And that is enough for me.
Thank you so much. Actually, very interesting. My wife shared about meeting Reverend Moon for the first time. I met Reverend Moon for the first time just actually after she did, because I joined 4 years before she did, but I was living on the West Coast, so I didn't get a chance to meet Father for 4 years until finally I had a chance to go to a 40-day workshop in New York City, and we went up and saw Father. It was actually May 21st. I remember May 21st, 1984, and I had the exact same spirit experience. We were all singing songs together, and our spirit was very high, and we were praying and very high. And then the men and women's sides parted so Father could come to the front. And when he walked in, I felt an enormous spirit coming into the room. It was almost like Thor Ragnarok or something, one of these, these Marvel, heroes coming in. It was like this powerful, it felt like the room got bigger, like you said, and it was just spiritual experience. It was very interesting. It was like we were empty before. It was like an empty room before, and now the room felt full. And I think the reason is that there's millions of spirits that come around Father that are following him everywhere he goes. So when he comes in, literally there's like the Lord of Hosts is how they describe Jesus, as the Lord of Hosts, right? Is that Jesus is led by all these angels, or it's not led by all these angels, 10,000 angels around Jesus. But I think that's the experience we have, is that all these spirits are with Father all the time. So when he comes into the room, it's like, the room suddenly got filled, and it gets bigger because these spirits are bringing with it all their spirit world, and it gets wider, bigger. It was just us before. It was just a small little garage, and then suddenly he comes in, and you're like in a palace. It's like suddenly you feel like you're in a palace. Amazing experience. And I wept and wept for like 45 minutes straight too. The first time, just wept and wept. I think that if that's the only thing you guys can take away from this whole sermon, that's wonderful. Reverend Moon really came. He was the second coming of Christ. And even though he's passed away, it doesn't matter. You can still meet him, and we can introduce you in a certain sense, and you can have those spiritual experiences. And I hope that we can grow to become more and more like him as a couple, so that we can represent him to the world. And that's our goal as a blessed couple. And I hope that you can become blessed couples, and you can have the same goal in your life, and you can also represent heaven and represent true parents, and you can become a force of change in this world, and we can bring about the kingdom of heaven. Please be searchers. Have a searcher's mind. That's today's topic. Have a searcher's mind, no matter who you are or where you are. Thank you so much. Please join us in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much. What a wonderful sermon today. What a wonderful sharing today we had. Reading Father's words and his autobiography, reading also the divine principle, and also quoting Jesus as he struggled to gain belief from the Jewish people 2,000 years ago. We realize that fallen people's spiritual sensibility is extremely dull. We are so dull sometimes, like a dull knife. We can't, penetrate the deep spiritual world, the high spiritual world. And we need the Messiah to come, to break through for us, so he can shed light and shed truth and bring the heaven's light to us. But once we get the light, it's our responsibility to climb toward the light, to change our lives, to make them brighter and stronger, and to make our mind more sharp so we can penetrate into the higher level spirit world, so we can do what Father did, so we can also bring and help bring light to people. Father, like Father said, nothing is going to stop the momentum of the Korean people and the chosen people welling up and bringing truth and light to the world. But really it's Father and Father's truth and Father's teaching that cannot be stopped now. It will well up and fill the earth with truth and light and love. I pray that the light of truth will quickly fill the earth, Father. And I ask your blessing on this day and on all my brothers and sisters who are watching at home and here in our sanctuary in Gorham, New Hampshire. Please bless this day. 축복 중심 가정. 라만과 타미코 모토나를 이름으로 보고드립니다. I offer this report in the name of Raman and Tamiko Montana, our blessed central family. Aju. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.